Just play along for a second and consider the following. You are an avid Dungeons & Dragons player, and a dungeon master at that, responsible for creating an entire world for your group of friends. Every time you play, you have a new, elaborate battle map laid out on the table for use in your game. But just like most things, it can't last forever. People leave for schools and new jobs, and your group fractures into lots of different locations. Or maybe people just get lazy and don't want to come over to your house anymore despite all of the time and energy and hours that you put into building this world you made just for them, and they don't seem to care about any of your characters that you develop for their enjoyment, and all they want to do is just move little tokens around a board and roll dice at each other like monkeys let loose in a board game shop and constantly pester you for more and more loot despite... Sorry, I kind of got off track there. Where was I? Oh, right, yeah. Let me just, 1 second. There we go. So, if your players aren't in the room with you, but you still want strategic combat, then you have a bit of a problem. Now, there's quite a few tools out there already for this kind of thing. There are two-dimensional battle map generators like Roll20, which do a good enough job starting out with, but it's a bit finicky with either tiling textures over and over, or finding the perfect battle map that someone else has already made to steal, and it doesn't quite have the ease of use I would ideally look for. I don't want to spend hours making a map that's in use for the same or less playtime. And what if I want to add in cliffs and stuff? Complex caves? It just doesn't sit well with me. There are, of course, options that are three-dimensional, such as Tabletop Simulator as shown here. But it has similar problems to many two-dimensional apps. Too finicky, tiling textures takes hours to use, and on top of that, it's not specifically built for D&D, so it lacks specific features that I'd want. Nothing can really get me as motivated as being mildly pissed off at something. In the end, all I really want to do is just have a game of D&D without it taking ages to make a map for it. So instead, I'm doing the logical thing, which is making a whole goddamn game out of it. At this point, there's an important question which needs answering. If I don't like what's on the market right now, what makes me think that I can do something better? For now, all I've really done is complain about what there is without providing any alternative solutions, so here's my pitch. It's a little bit story-like, but I'll get around to the point eventually, just hold on. So, it starts when I got inspired by one of Sebastian Laig's... Laig? Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not actually sure. In any case, one of his videos on marching cubes to generate terrain from a grid of points, specifically this scene here. And I realised I could probably try implementing and extending it myself in spite of how terrible I am at programming. I can make this kind of fully editable terrain, throw in a bunch of tools for changing it with colours and brush types, add in a simple but effective building generator, some gameplay tools like lighting, fog of war, and water, and I've got a reasonable shot at a good battle map generator, and one that I haven't seen done before. If, by the grace of the gods, I'm not sick and tired of it within a couple of weeks' time, I can eventually make it even more extensible with destructible terrain, visible spell radii, and it might not sound like too much, and it's really not, but I'm really trying not to overwhelm myself here, as I have a terrible track record with finishing projects, and I just want to make something concrete so that I don't have to feel like a failure all the time. Maybe just some of the time. Who knows? So I guess succinctly, the idea is just to make something that's easy to use and can make a map in minutes, whether that's terrain, a dungeon, a cave, the inside of a tavern, or I guess a mix of all of them if you're aiming for a bizarre dwarven brothel. Though I also want the option to go into more granular detail if it's desired. Quite what level of granular detail that you want to go into if you're making a dwarven brothel is really up for you to decide, you dirty bastard. So I've been working on this for a couple of weeks, and this is what I've got so far. Right now it's not much to look at, but in my defense I haven't spent too much time working on the visuals for now. I'll definitely have to go back to almost every single one of these elements, as for now they're kind of placeholder-ish, especially the brushes for editing terrain. That code is pretty goddamn bad even by my standards, and that's saying something. So you can probably point out all of my mistakes at some point in future, but it can wait until I've got a basic playtest version. And anyway, going through all of the new stuff I'll be doing, there'll be plenty of errors that you can point out, so the backlog will have to wait. Anyway, here's a quick speedrun of all of the things I've managed to do already. I made my own version of the marching cubes algorithm, which was just what I used to make the terrain. I then changed it to run on the GPU because it was eating up too much of my CPU time, and the way I did it before was just dumb, so yeah, that was good. So I made a couple of brush settings to edit the terrain as well. Right now it's pretty abysmal, so that'll need changing in the future. I've spent a surprising amount of time on this very specific bug, which I still haven't fixed. It's I'm trying to smooth this terrain out. This little crinkly bit here doesn't want to smooth down. Can't figure out why. I guess I'm stuck with it for now. That's great. At some point I almost decided to just stop working on it and give up because nothing was working well and everything was slow, but I realized that that's probably just how it was going to be at some point, so, you know, you just have to suck it up. Honorable mention to all the times I got distracted on YouTube instead of actually working on code like I should have been. So it's around about at this point which I decided I wanted a break from optimization. I started on the UI, which I had no idea how to do. At this point, it kind of looks like it's been done by a toddler with, well, just done by a toddler to be honest with you, but you know, it kind of half works sometimes, so at this point I regret getting bored of optimizing, because the UI is not my favourite, I'll put it that way. So it's at this point that I went back to take a look at the mesh, see if I could add some colours onto it based on angle and the height of the triangles on the mesh, and yeah, now I can make it green, boy. I'm getting excited over almost nothing at this point just because it works, but I guess, you know, I'm allowed a bit of fun. Took a little bit of time making a token menu for picking up, like, I don't know, little pieces on the board. You can pick them up, move them around, you know, all that good stuff. Then I ended up working on this kind of UI folder system that I think is my best piece of code so far. I mean, it breaks the least, which is, you know, that's always a good sign for me. I see far too many of these funky little messages going on. I don't want any more of them. And after working on about several hours worth of the decoration settings, like having trees pasted all around the map as you can see here, I quickly managed to break and invalidate all of the work on the token settings that I'd done previously. And you know, isn't that fun when you have days of your work just going down the drain? You know, it's really fun. It's just really fun. So that's it for now. I'll probably send out another video next weekish. I'm going to try and make it a weekly thing, both kind of looking at the game that I'm doing and my general life outside of that. Although, if I do, please just don't point out how little I end up going outside. I already know that I'm a shut-in, so you don't really need to point it out anymore. It'll just make me sad. My plan over the next week is finishing off this decoration system I've got, and I'll be able to showcase it to you as time goes on, and probably fixing the token menu and all of the placing of little movable pieces that I broke last time, because yeah, I kind of gave up on it for a while. I don't know how long I'm going to end up doing this for. A lot of it depends on whether I get sick of it as a project, as well as how much I'm ending up learning whilst I do it. Still, I hope you can have fun learning stuff too. Or maybe you can just have fun telling me how much I suck. Either way, it's about it for this week, so I guess I'll see you in a week's time. Also, I plan on fixing my mic at some point soon, because I know it's kind of screwed, so yeah.